Good morning, everybody. We'll be starting, as you can see, in about 4.5 minutes. Waiting for other folks to come on in. We've got a great lineup today, so sit tight, and we'll get started here in just about 4.5 minutes. Looks like we got a good crowd so far. This is fantastic. Thanks everybody for showing up today. This is really great.
The Microsoft ecosystem is constantly evolving, and for many partners, it's overwhelming to keep up. Constant program updates, intricate incentive structures, and ever-changing priorities leave partners struggling to stay ahead. Without a clear roadmap, critical opportunities are missed. These challenges don't just cost time, they cost revenue. Working with Microsoft doesn't have to be this difficult. With the right support, you can cut through the complexity, take control of your strategy, and unlock measurable growth. We help partners simplify their path to success by providing the guidance and resources needed to fully maximize their Microsoft relationship. Ready to learn more?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Thank you very much. My name is Sherman Crancer, and welcome to the Microsoft Voice of the Microsoft Partner. Today, we are so delighted to bring you a great speaker here. We'll bring her in to introduce herself. Monica French, USA SMB Director at Microsoft. Man, we are excited about this. So we're really going to have some really great content with that. On the agenda today, so my name is once again Sherman Crancer. We got Monica French as our guest speaker. Today we're going to be talking about the AI revenue blueprint for Microsoft partners. So some of the topics that we are going to be covering today: defining SMB versus enterprise. How does Microsoft measure partners? Some partner investments that we want to kind of talk about. Where to start in AI to make it profitable, and then we're going to finish off with maybe a scenario or a kind of a case study to kind of talk about how we can succeed, being an AI partner. Now, before we get started here, we have some rules of engagement. We are going to be recording this and publishing this afterwards. So if you feel uncomfortable having your name, your likeness, your questions on here, please go ahead and exit the actual session. We will be recording this, so we'll send you that recording. So don't worry about it. You're not going to miss it. But we want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this here. Nothing is out of the ordinary, but just in case you do. Number two, we're using the chat window. So please, if you have any questions or you have a response or you have a thumbs up, please go ahead and put that into the chat window. We like to have people talking. We have a whole team here at the Crancer Group kind of monitoring that. As well as if you have a question for Monica, we're going to be looking at some of the questions. We might be able to take one or two from the actual group, and we always want to have participation in there. Next, we're going to have some polls. Microsoft polls, these are great. We don't actually publish who votes where. So don't worry about it. Like your vote, if you say yes or no, is not going to be like, oh, so-and-so said no to this kind of thing. No, we're just using it to kind of help the conversation go. So don't worry about it. So please do the polls. It's kind of cool. We kind of keep things kind of interactive in here. Lastly, actually two things more, networking opportunity. We want you to use this as a networking platform if you can, or if you want to. So if you're interested, go ahead and put your name and your contact information in the chat window for other folks to see. You might be in the East Coast and you need somebody in the West Coast. You never know, right? So this is a good platform for that. And then lastly, tell your other peers, the other partners that you work with about this call. We always do it the last Friday of every month. We've got 6 Microsoft speakers lined up after Monica. This is great. All of a sudden, we've got this thing loaded up this year. It's really going to be all about trying to find and define strategies, and gleaning from what, corporate says and from strategy to down to what the partner, distill it to the partner. So that's just want to kind of talk about a little bit there. And then, it's interesting. Last month, my team came to us and they said, well, Sherman, does anybody even know what we do? You never talk about us. And I'm always so careful about this, folks. I don't like to commercialize this. I really don't. This is really a safe place for us. So I'm going to say one thing. Okay, we've changed a lot, but what do we do? What does a Crancer Group do? We specializing in shaping Microsoft partners by focusing on the top 5 programs that will unlock partner investments, incentives, deployments, assessment funds, and earnings. Gosh, there's 1,000 programs at Microsoft. We all know this. It's difficult to understand. We actually tell all of our partners to forget 995 of them until we get you to the very top rung, where it opens up all of the levels, right? And let me just go ahead and accentuate that. We follow this precisely, okay? Because what we want to do with every partner that we work with is we want you to become an advanced specialized partner with Microsoft. And there's a reason behind this. It's not just because Microsoft said, hey, Sherman, go ahead and tell people to become specialized. I'm not doing that. I'm doing that because it unlocks all of the money. If you need assessment dollars, deployment dollars, bounties, I mean, come on, this is the way to go. We want to unlock this, then go find a flyer on something else that comes out. Okay, so that's really what I want to get at. And the last thing I want to just talk about before we get into it is we have a new product called Certification as a Service. If you are a partner that is missing 1 or 2 certs and to get an SPD or advanced specialization, we have a bank of over 500 that we can assign to you in about 30 days. Now, you can use them in your organization to do the deployments. They're level 300, 400 folks. If you're interested in it, please let us know afterwards. We'll give you a call. We'll talk to you about it. It is a great product because it allows you to actually get those certificates, get those SPDs or the advanced specialization, which unlocks some of the ROI on this particular program is probably 8 times the cost. So that's just what it is. So with that being said, that is all we're going to be talking about from our perspective. Now let's bring on our guest speaker of the day, Monica. Hey, thank you so much for coming today. Would you please introduce yourself and a little bit about your role?
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much, Sherman, and thank you, Crancer Group, for this invitation. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. So yeah, within my role, I lead the US SMB sales unit. So I work very closely within the SMB business with our partner ecosystem, with some of our top disties, our top SSP scale solution providers, with and also with our MSP community. I'm getting even closer. I'm on a listening tour, actually. I've gone to a lot of conferences. I was at Right of Boom last week, a few weeks ago. Then I was at MSP Summit in Orlando. I'll be in Vegas too in April, I hope. So cross our fingers. I'd love to meet you guys there if I haven't. And part of my work is to see how we can really unlock growth with SMB. I'm responsible for the whole up business unit numbers for US, and I do work a lot in the co-sell motions that we have together. And just seeing how we can unlock growth through all the different units we have within Microsoft to plug partners into that ecosystem. So, and excited to be here with you guys.
Awesome. And everybody, we had breakfast with her, I think about a month and a half ago, Richard and I, and we got connected, and this just really aligned so well. And we just thought this would be a great, have her as a great speaker here. And so we got some really good questions. Monica and I actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We've kind of formulated these things. We figured that these are the questions that we can impart. So please, if you have stuff to do there, before we do that, we got our first two polls. This is just defining a couple things really quickly. Richard, do you have access to that? Can you go ahead and launch the first poll? I think we want to define SMB versus, and let's go reload. Let's go. You guys having the same issue, not connected? Or is the poll, maybe it's on my end.
I can see the poll.
Oh, you can see the poll?
Showing up for me.
Okay, maybe it was just for me. Go ahead and vote on those polls. Okay, there you go. Okay, it's coming up here. This is interesting. How would you define SMB? And it looks pretty good. 1 to 100, 3%, 1 to 250. And I think SMB is also kind of defined differently, from our partner base versus what Microsoft uses SMB. So we'll get to that in a second. All right, let's go ahead and launch the second one. So I'm curious what people think about enterprise. What do they feel is like an enterprise account? There you go. How would you define enterprise? So 1 to 500, 500 to 1,000 to 100, 500 to 2,500, 1,000 plus. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's see. Let's go to this new one. Okay, so actually that looks pretty good. The majority of you are saying 1,000 to 10,000 plus. Okay, interesting. So a little bit different when it comes to Microsoft, right? But thank you guys for that, for those things. So, all right, so our first question today really is kind of demystifying parts, of Microsoft SMB. So, Monica, if you want to tackle this one, how would we define SMB versus enterprise? And furthermore, how is SMB being prioritized now at Microsoft?
Yeah, I think that's a good grounding question, because SMB, is not a one size fits all. It's really such a diverse segmentation you can do with an SMB. To give you a little background, like I came in from LinkedIn, and before that I had my own startup. So I think, the SMB space is something that I've always been very passionate about, because I had my own company that was trying to thrive and grow and scale, just like I think many of you are trying to do as well. And when you think about SMB, it's really the growth engine. It's a huge growth engine for us. It's one of the fastest growing segments within Microsoft. It's a $280 billion total available market, right, for us, TAM, and to capture with our partners, right? And if you think about it, it's like it can be anything from, it's like the fabric of our economic engine of the United States. It's anything from the coffee shop on the corner of your neighborhood, of your block, to it could be the app you use to take, maybe for me, the yoga or Pilates class, to like a fintech app plugged into your banking system that you have on your mobile, right? So it really is so diverse across so many sectors, right? And so we see it as such a huge opportunity at Microsoft, and we're dedicating even more, and we'll talk more about that, how we're dedicating more resources into the SMB space at Microsoft. And so what we do is we have a segmentation I can share here, and I'll just plug it into the chat, but it's kind of how we look at the different segments within SMB. So if you see here, it's going to be a little pyramid here. We have it across different layers. Now we have it, we see the very small, which is like the 1 to 24, which is like around 9 million businesses that we think like high velocity. They're very partner led. To the medium size, the 25 to 300. That's really a really sweet spot for us. Around 1.8 million accounts we see there that are growing their cloud investment, that we're relying heavily on, guidance from the MSP community. And then also when we go to the upper medium, those are a little bit higher, 399 employees, around 236,000. They're a little bit more sophisticated. They got a digital estate there. And then we go into the larger 1,000 to 3,000. Like that's where we've seen, large companies and many brands that you're probably familiar with. So it really is quite diverse. But at the same time, like what we're starting to do is say, not every SMB is built the same. Therefore, we need to think about these journeys are very different. So we're doing a lot of studies around and actually in the field to understand better what does an SMB below 300 seats look like versus above 300, employees look like. So we see that like if you're under 300, we see a lot of distinctions. Those are SMBs that are looking more to how to like grow their business, how to scale. Whereas if you're a little bit larger, you're thinking, okay, how am I going to automate? How am I going to be more productive? How am I going to have cost optimization? So we have to think about how that it's a needs change based on the size. And so we're starting to really build our structure and build a lot of our products around that. And we can talk more about that, later on.
Oh, that's great. And I think just another small clarification point. So like in Microsoft, in the past, it was 1 to 500 was not on the MAL. So that was, and the MAL is the major account list, is another acronym.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about acronyms in a minute.
Yes.
But on the MAL, right? So 1 to 500 was the place where all of our partners could swim, and we have no problem with channel conflicts, and they're getting the things. And then 500 to 2,500 was SMC, small medium corporate, and then I think the 2,500 above was enterprise, kind of a thing. But in the past, there was channel conflict, right? In the 500 to 2,500, because there was the not volume agreements, the oh my gosh, why am I blanking on this one? But the long-term agreements that you'd have to do with Software
EAs?
One. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. EA. The EAs, right? But that's changed now, right? That's changed. Now, there's been a push to move from EA to CSP, right?
Correct.
Okay. You want to just touch on that a little bit? Oh,
yeah, no, excellent point. I'm glad you mentioned that, Sherman. I mean, these are customers, they can be the larger accounts that you see, let's say like the large and upper medium segments could be on EA. They can be on EA. But like you mentioned, about a year ago, I think we made this announcement, how important it is for to be CSP driven. It's our hero motion. So we are doing we have targets around transitioning our customers from EA to CSP. So we want to be 100%, like that's our goal. We want to be CSP led and partner led, right? We know that we succeed better when you guys are driving and you're, behind the wheel, and we're the co-pilot maybe in some cases, but you guys are behind the wheel, driving and navigating and leading with the customer. And we'll talk about all the different resources available so that we can help you be that co-pilot for you in how you navigate the customers together. Yeah.
Excellent. And just the last little thing to touch on with that too is there's been, and you've seen this, a change. Maybe it's a change in the wind. I don't know, but it's, hey, we need to really invest in SMB.
Yes.
And that's, would that be a correct assumption that the winds are kind of changing a little bit?
Yeah, I think the dynamics are just, the market, economics are changing. I mean, like the total market, the TAM, like we mentioned, is huge, right? 260 billion, number one. So 9 million businesses right there, huge, right? Opportunity there. Number two is that we see the numbers that we are growing, excellent, over 18% year over year within the SMB segment, one of the fastest growing segments at Microsoft. So there's huge opportunity there. And then three, I think it's just the AI play is just so important. We're seeing that, if you think about how an SMB will be able to scale in a different way, how we look at productivity, right? Maybe not by headcount, but by productivity and automation and growth and revenue, how that can be a game changer when you put AI in the hands of an SMB, when you put AI tools in the hands of an SMB. So what I call it is a super empowered SMB. And it's just a question of really seeing that come to fruition in a scalable way. We're seeing through some case studies and that coming about. But I think it's just a matter of time. We see that shift of an SMB, let's say a 200 store for selling sporting goods, and there's a 500 person or 1,001 chain down the block. If this 200 employee SMB really embraces AI, automates their processing, their payroll, their HR onboarding, their sales campaigns, they can probably be in a much better place than maybe a 500,000 person sporting goods company. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of how we need to frame it and how we see it.
Excellent, excellent. Kind of transitioning into really that takes us really kind of into our next question. What are some of the new products that are coming down to SMB partners?
Yeah. So I'm curious also later we could ask in this chat, how many of you are aware of our Copilot for Business new product we launched? It was announced at Ignite and back in November. So, okay, that's good. We have some good ones. We have some responses. That's awesome. So there was a lot of, excitement around this. And so there's basically two different things I want to ground everybody on. One is the Copilot for Business, and then the security SKUs we launched, which is the Purview and Defender Attach. So on the Copilot side, what do we do? What do we see in the market is that so many customers were saying to our partners and partners telling us, like, we need to meet the customers where they're at on the right price points, right? And we know that there is a significant, as we looked at TAM, huge opportunity to really go into this segment, into under 300 seats. So Copilot for Business was launched. What it is essentially, it's like the M365 Copilot that you guys know today, but with the same functionality and features, enterprise grade level, but at a better price point. It's going to be, it's like 21, I can later put in the chat, 21 per user per month, the Copilot Business. And so you have to be under 300 seats. So any customer who's under Business Standard or Business Premium is eligible to integrate this into their suite. And so what that means is they can have it now, Copilot, embedded in their chat. So it's, in their work, like data grounded. It can be in their Word, it can be in their Outlook, in their PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, everything. So they can really unleash this productivity tool in their day-to-day operations, from workflows that have to do with coordinating with teams, or it has to do with workflows that have to do with sales campaigns, marketing campaigns, where it can be unleashing, financing as well, in payments and processing, or and onboarding your new employees. So it can be so many things for an SMB right now. And that's what we launched. So I don't know if that's any question around that. I think we're good, Sherman. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think there's a lot of probably claps around. I think, we've all kind of dealt with this, of the pricing of the addition of Copilot, and then on top of the license, that has been a consideration. And then, what percentage of the total license count is actually going to be adopting Copilot, right? It wasn't, I think when it first came out, it's like, oh, I got 100 users. All 100 are going to get the AI SKU. Well, not necessarily, right? But I think this allows us to increase that, because maybe it was at the old rate, maybe it was 20% of the total license count would get it. But now, holy smokes, I think we can get a lot more people on it. That seems a lot more palatable. I think it's really good.
Exactly. And we see just like, it's significantly discounted from the full price, right? It's like 30-40%. So that's really important. And we saw there was just a huge market need. To give you an idea, like Copilot obviously has embedded the agents. So many agents you can start using, whether it's researcher, sales agent, analyst agent, a lot of those agents, because that's what we're moving towards, the agent model. So imagine, like, these are specified, I call them subject matter experts, mini Copilots. What they do is they help you be specialized and help you do different things. Like for me, analyst agent is having my finance analyst on demand for whatever I need for Excel, My research agent helps me figure out how to be better at understanding my customers more in depth. It's my McKinsey consultant to go, is what I call it. So there's different ways you can leverage this in your day-to-day to be more efficient, to be more productive, and be more effective in your day-to-day with your customers too, and our customers themselves. And I'll put this here in the chat a little bit, the bundle, so that people can be aware of the pricing also. But it's important to see the distinction. On the left one is exactly the Copilot Business pricing. And then as you go forward is when you start off just with standard plus the Copilot for Business, or premium plus Copilot for Business. You do the bundles. Those are the bundles that are in pink. And then we add in now the security side. So on the security front, if you want, I can go into that, Sherman. You tell me if that's a good timing frame to transition. I can cover that.
Yeah, well, right before we do that, an interesting thing, 4 years ago, we had a contract with Microsoft to answer all the pseudo live trainings for Azure fundamentals. Now, imagine this, Microsoft was bringing on 1,600 to 2,000 people a time. And my company, we were tasked with answering all the questions that had to do with Azure fundamentals when they're watching the video. Well, when I started out, I was thinking, there's no way, my team is going to be able to do this. You're getting 20 questions, a minute, right? Like crazy. We actually developed a chatbot 4 years ago called Cortez. And we use a large language model. So we started training the sucker, and we actually use that as a way to help answer questions, especially the obscure ones. So we had this knowledge base of 5,000 questions. So we were thinking about that time, but that's just the reason I'm bringing it up. It's a story of how we were able to use kind of an agentic model to be able to work more efficiently. It was impossible for us to answer all of those when we needed to. So
And here's two fun data points around that. It's like about 90% of SMBs are going to be adopting and playing with agents over the next 6 months. So like most of them have already started, but the adoption rate is pretty significant. It's a $45 billion industry, the agents model. So that is like the next, if we look at how things are transitioning within Copilot, it's like we started with chat, right? Started seeing how we can use it as a response, like having your own AI assistant. Now we're like in the agent second phase. It's like, okay, now I have these like digital agents that are autonomous, but they can actually help me get specific tasks done. And then we're going to have the next phase, which is like these interrelated agents working together to complete a process, a whole workflow within each other. So it's like having a team work with you and actually operate a specific workflow. And that's kind of like the vision of what we're moving towards, right? But now we're within this migration of chat to the paid, which is what we can really transition. And what we found, Sherman, is that when customers start using the chat function, which is available when they have Business Standard and Business Premium, they can easily start playing with it. And then they can see the power of it, and then they transition. They're 3 times more likely, or in like 3 months, they're going to transition more easily into the Copilot business, like the paid version. So for the productivity suite. So it's an amazing maturity model we're seeing there.
That's great. Yeah, and if you want to touch on security, that'd be great.
Yeah, so on security, I really important too is that we also announced around September within the SMB space as well. There's 2 important announcements in the security space. One is Defender, and then is Purview Attach. So those are also attachments into our B SKUs, like Business Premium, Business Standard, that are very important. For the Defender side, this is like our, it's not just an antivirus, but it's like full threat protection. So we're talking about endpoint direction, response, threat intelligence, vulnerability assessments. I mean, to give you an idea, like, 70% of SMBs, as all of you know, who incur a cybersecurity attack will never reopen. So this is extremely important to have this functionality to protect our customers, against these cyber attacks, and ransomware protection as well. So it really is an important layering. So if you think about it, you got Business Premium, it's your secure foundation for SMB. Then you go to Copilot, which is your AI productivity layer. Then you got Defender, which is like stopping the breach, on identity, endpoint, and email. And the final one on security is Purview. So the Purview suite came out. This is all under 300 seats. And the Purview also is about protecting your data. So think about the shadow AI. Also, how do we create that data governance model that we need to protect your data with much more advanced capabilities, from information protection, data loss prevention, audit and investigations, like all of that will go under the Purview level. And so that is what we want to do, is have that complete suite that is available to our SMB customers. That's in that table that I shared.
Interesting. I love it. This is really cool. If we could kind of move over to, can you, a lot of folks ask this question, hey, do you understand the SMB structure? Do you understand, like, who do we, it's like this, it's what, yeah. So would you mind, I mean, there's so many new acronyms that are out there too. Could you kind of give the folks here kind of an idea of what the SMB structure looks like today,
Yes.
and how they might navigate that, or not even navigate it, but yeah, just give us your thoughts, please. It's really confusing to a lot of folks.
I believe me, I was there with you guys about a year ago when I first started at Microsoft. So I'm still unpacking a lot of the acronyms myself. So, and Copilot helped me actually in that journey. So I get you guys. Sometimes when I realize I finish a sentence and I'd had like 6 acronyms in that sentence, I'm like, this is so wrong. Like, we need to actually like unpack this. So let me share with you a little bit what went through this reorg. So as you probably know, like last summer, we went through probably one of the biggest like restructurings at Microsoft, right? So many things changed. A lot of, even just nomenclature that we use changed. A lot of it just went through. I've heard it's one of the biggest. So with that in mind, we also changed like how we talk about our business lines. So just to ground set there, like when we say there's 3 basic pillars within the sales org or solution offerings within the sales team, which is number 1 is AIBS, AI Business Solutions. So what does that mean? That is all our productivity suites. So that's like the end-to-end productivity. So that includes modern work, that includes Copilot, that includes Dynamics, right? So that I'll put here in the chat so you guys can start following me as I speak, because I don't like to project. I just like to kind of have references. And that's the first pillar that you'll see. The second pillar that we announced was like cloud and AI platforms. That I think is very natural. You guys know it's Azure, it's Fabric, Foundry, anything like cloud related, that goes under that space, the cloud and AI platforms. And then the third on the right is security. That didn't exist as its own pillar within SMB, actually. That's actually new. It used to be embedded within the modern workspace together. Now we separated it. Why? Because we know that it's fundamental to have that data governance and that security. It's a foundation setting moment with our customers, right? We don't to deploy AI and any AI tools. You first have to talk about security and how you're securing their suite and their data, right? So this is where I think it's important to ground set on the solution offerings, how we see it. So when you say someone say AIBS, now you know what you're talking about, right? When you say cloud, now we can reference it. And then also, what did we change also in the structure of SMB? I mean, we realize it is one of the fastest growing segments, like I mentioned, Sherman. We started hydrating these roles called PSS. So we have different players touching, we are partner led, 100% partner led. But what's important is that we have different roles that started coming and hydrating into a small business team. And one of them is called like a PSS. You probably have heard that role many times, Sherman, over and over, but it's like the partner sales solutions specialist. So these are roles, imagine they're like your quarterback. They're there to help, they're pinned to large partners, but they can also, we have a process I'll share with you, the PLSR, but it's all a P thing here. Products, pricing, PSS and PLSR. We'll get to those two. The PSS is very important because they're like the quarterback that can help our partners unlock opportunities in the lighter MSEM stage. So imagine that you say, okay, I have a compete with another vendor, but I also have an opportunity that I need some funding for a migration, or I need help with a program activation or designations that are happening. Like a lot of that also is the PSS can help and support that for specific opportunities, and they can lead them to the finish line with you. So we have those PSSs, they're awesome, and we have them aligned to each of these pillars that I shared in this chat here, to the AI business solutions, to the cloud, and to the security teams in SMB across the US and Canada and LATAM. That's the first role. So any questions there? Do you think that's clear to the team, the PSS role, Sherman?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. And then just the other one I think is important is that you guys have probably heard about the vendor team, right? So in that small business, in SMB, we have these vendor digital sales team, VDS. So the VDS team is made up of, imagine these are vendor sellers that we have across the Americas. It's like 900. It's a lot of them, but a lot of them are assigned to specific accounts, maybe more along the higher, I would say a lot of them are in the higher echelons of the pyramid of segments of like larger SMBs. But we have different motions where they're assigned to certain accounts. They go and they unlock sometimes opportunities, or they're kind of like an SDR figuring out there's an opportunity there. And then they go back to the party and say, hey, we saw this with the renewal coming up in EA to CSP to the licensing motion. Hey, we see an opportunity for this large account that wants to go into Copilot. Let's bring in the partner to build that together. So they're there to really support you guys and build out and bring in technical specialists where needed as well to build out those opportunities. So that's the vendor digital sales team too, that is also hydrated into with it that works with that's part of SMB. And then finally, if I can do a quick commercial on PLSR, Sherman. We have a process, and I'm going to try to find the link in a second, the partner-led sales resource. I know it's another acronym. Just think about this is the PLSR. It's a partner form, I guess you could say. It's a partner form that you basically complete, and you fill out details about an opportunity. It takes you like literally 5 minutes. and you complete details about the name of the company, the vertical you're in, what is the opportunity size, what's the solution area, and you say, what do you need? Oh, we can help you with technical specialists, or we can help you with licensing, or we can help you with funding. And that is what it helps unlock a lot of the connections to the PSS, or you'll be connected to a BDS seller, depends on each opportunity. And so I work a lot with the vendor team that helps process those leads. And it's kind of our co-sell. You can see it as like a co-sell emotion that we have together with our partners. So I'll later in a sense share that with you guys, the link. Okay. But I hope you take advantage of it. It's a great resource.
That is
Whenever
a
you want to eat it.
great explanation.
It's ready
That
right now.
is fantastic.
The boys are ready too.
Oh, I think we have a little bit of feedback here. Let's get to our next question. So many partners are like, gosh, I do this and I do that. Maybe an infrastructure part or an SI, right, that does that. All I do is implementations. How do I get noticed by Microsoft? So what does success look like from Microsoft's perspective? What is a successful partner from Microsoft's perspective?
Oh, so this is a
Yeah.
fun one. I think when I think of success, I think about this.
Yeah,
We
sorry,
talk about
I'm
this.
just a
I know
little
you've probably heard of
distracted.
this.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I think there's a crossover.
Can
Honey.
we mute, please? Oh, sorry. Okay, go back to you. Sorry, Monica. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. So to be very honest, I think a lot of this is the most important grounding. I think I would love to share with everybody is that if we do not actually become the tech users ourselves, then we cannot evangelize others. We have to walk the talk. So the partners that I see that are crushing it are the ones that have it embedded and they're using the tools themselves. They have Copilot. They're using it with their sales team. They're using it with the marketing team. They're actually using the technology to really unlock their own growth. And because with that, they have the stories, the compelling stories to say, hey, the seller's on the call. It's like, look, this is how I'm using it for my campaigns with my customers. You want to see how we can use it with your sales team and help you scale SMB? Awesome, right? Like that's how we gain credibility and so we call that customer zero. We have to ground this ourselves to evangelize and really bring our customers on that journey, and build that credibility. So that's number one. And I can give you an example. CDW is a really great partner of ours. They are amazing. They adopted Copilot across all their sellers, and they all started using it. They all started doing use cases. They all started looking at workflows. They did deep training. So I think that's something that number one is the best thing I've seen across the board. And it's like not correlated, it's causation. You see better performance from partners when they're using it within their own organization, that partner. Number one. Does that make, I'm sure you've seen that too, Sherman, in your world as well. No? And then I think and I think number two, I'd say, is that we actually a partner who has clarity in their superpower. When a partner is actually unleashing that superpower they have, and they know that, are they going to be the Copilot MSP? Are they going to be the security always on MSP? Are they going to be the migration modernization specialist? I think that specialty and knowing what your superpower is fundamental in the partner ecosystem. So just doing something and doing it super well. It's like a startup. When you tell a startup, hey, like, what are you going to be good at? You're like, sometimes you want to do everything all at once and be everything to everybody in this vertical. And like, no, you have to specialize. And we'll talk about specializations and designations on that route too, right? But I think that's what I've seen too, is clarity of focus in what your superpower is. Second, third, who is your customer? Who is have that clarity on your customer and what your profile is of customer. What segment do you play in? Are you in the 300 plus suite? Are you in the 300 less employee suite? Are you in the specific verticals? Are you in finance and law? Like know your vertical and know that industry well, so they can really understand how you map stakeholders better. And I think finally I'm going to add is the best MSPs that I see are partners that are really crushing it, is that they're learning that they have to sell differently in the AI space. That selling is not the same as it was before. And what I mean by that is a myth buster is that we thought, okay, we could just give some licensing out and then we're done. And then they move on to the next customer and it's a low touch. Here, it is a little more high touch, but it's a great economic opportunity to build services around it. So how do we become more consultative in that space, and get our sellers ready and able to be more consultative, to carry customers on that AI journey with them? And I believe part of that is when the sellers sit down, you need a different seller. You need a seller that knows how to be consultative, but a seller that knows how to bring in lots of stakeholders. If you're going to sell AI, that is to touch every single role, finance, marketing, sales, you need to be able to talk to the different stakeholders and bring them in the discussion with you. And HR is huge for this, for skilling, because if the HR person has to be able, especially if you're talking about 300 and above or 200 above, they need to be on board in the culture aspect, in the training aspect, on AI. And if you don't have if you just have the CTO on that side, it's not going to be a successful deal, or it's going to be a smaller deal than what you'd want, to be honest. So, and I came from the HR space, so HR tech space, and I really do believe that strongly. We need to involve the CHROs more often in these discussions than we actually do. So
that's excellent. Now, a couple of what I think Monica is saying is keys to the castle, or just table stakes, is we have to get to advanced specialization, guys. We can't sit there as having just our solution designation. We need to get an advanced specialization. I like what we're talking about, industry focus. Understanding what you're doing. I also believe that stop being everything to everyone. Let's get more specialized, and then think about this when you want to talk to a Microsoft seller. Just like what Monica is saying here is, you need to come to it with a different perspective on how to sell into an account. And, you want that Microsoft seller to think, oh gosh, this is a real partner for me. This is really going to help me get into this account and drive business throughout this account. So I think all those things coupled with fundamentals, we got to get to advanced specialization. We got to put our head down, forget the other 995 programs. Let's get there. Let's focus. Let's make sure that we understand the industry that we're selling into, and what is a product that can be repeatable, across the board, right? What is something that you can put together, and it doesn't even have to be your own IP. It doesn't have to be an ISV product. It's what are you bundling together to solve a problem, maybe, or how are you utilizing that agent, right? How's that possible? So,
100%.
Combination of perspectives here. I think we can all get to where we need to get to.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the more that we see that everything we see, it's not a product complexity issue. It's not an integration issue. It's not it's not all that. It's not a technical issue. It's a human issue, in a sense of a human behavioral issue. And so when we talk about the human behavior, I don't think any AI without HI, human intelligence, is possible. So what that means is that we need to build the enablement, the skilling behind our customers. And to do that, we have to skill ourselves and have that toolbox. And that's what really these designations are about. It's us being able to build those capabilities within ourselves to be able to then train our customers, right? And have that toolkit. And that's the essence of it. And that's why I included, Sherman, in that slide, how many we increase our partner investments by 70%. So there's a reasoning behind that, right? The more that we invest in these programs, we see, and we get so it's like a whole sequential thing, right? You get your certification. Sure, Crancer Group will help you with that. Then you go on to the designations. Okay, some of you have to get a specialization. This is much fun. But then you get that. Then you can unlock all these great programs with your customers and get payback on CSP. So I'll show you a slide here. And it's all about the partner investment offers. Once you get the designations, you can unlock all these investments. You can get paid for doing an immersion briefing with security and get a payback there. You can get paid for a workshop on Copilot. You'll get payback there. So you see, you're building a new revenue stream that you maybe didn't think was possible, but we want to really incentivize. This is the way I think we see success in the AI journey with our customers.
I love that. And then Richard put in here, no AI without HI. That might need to copyright that. That might be a new tagline
somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah, no AI without HI.
I can't patent it, I think, but yeah, I believe it.
Our next question actually was about the incentives. How would they use them? And I think you kind of just you brushed up on that. One other small question in here that we had that I think is pretty broad. How does Microsoft potentially look at industry? Would you like to weigh in on, and I'm sorry, this is a little flat-footed here. Would you like to weigh in on the Microsoft perspective? Do they think that partners should have a focus on industry and have a product or solving a problem within a specific industry? Do you think that might help them maybe separate themselves from other partners at Microsoft?
I guess what I meant by that is, like, I mean, we do have, like, in the corporate space, we do have specialized verticals. We have a healthcare practice, we have a manufacturing practice, right? Because we do see distinctions, you know, especially when you get them to like the mid-side, like corporate enterprise level, right? What I meant by that is when you start looking at AI journeys and you look at workflows, some of them can be very particular to an industry or to a vertical. And so it does help, I think, to see as you get more, as you understand, for example, the law firms. Law firms have a very particular, we'll talk about that, you know, as actually a success story, but like they have a very particular way of how they're unlocking AI, you know, through their cases, versus like a manufacturing company that's maybe more, one is more front office, you know, impact of workflows. The other one in manufacturing is more back office, right? So it does require a very different understanding of industry, different kind of stakeholder involvement, different workflows you're impacting. Doesn't mean you can't do both, but just know them and do them well. That's what I'm saying, you know, and don't try to feel like, you know, I think when we try to do a brush stroke across all the verticals, it can be complicated, you know. It doesn't mean this is impossible, but I do think a little bit of specialization across three verticals and just do them super well and understand them well can play to your advantage.
That's great. New SKUs. Let's can we talk about them for a little bit? Or let's see, how do we compete in the SMB space? AI adoption for SMB, chat to play. I think those are some of the things that we talked about. Would you like to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a good, I think, covering. I would say that like what we see right now is you know, how we see we operate in this space, you know, and there's like three differentiators: is faster, more accurate, and more secure. No,
Okay.
Those are the three pillars of what we distinguish as Microsoft. You know, the quality of the LLMs that we have, the quality of the algorithms, the quality of the technology is, you know, first and foremost our grounding moment, you know, that we have at Microsoft. Whether it's Copilot for Business, whether it's Fabric, whether it's security, you know, it is, but too, it's the accuracy from which it's done, but and knowing that it's embedded within your whole productivity, you know, that it's this one-stop shop, you know, layering that we can do within Microsoft. So because we see a lot of like, you know, partners they're like, gosh, you know, like, why am I dealing with so many different kinds of like vendors when I could just do everything with Microsoft? Like, you know, that just be pure play, you know, makes much more sense, right? And then third is the security part. You know, the way we take care of security, you know, we ward off like 700 million like security threats a day in Microsoft around the world for our customers. You know, it is something so fundamental to how we operate. And so I think when we think of AI and shadow AI, you know, and how that also is an important, relevant discussion of securing the data, we need to know that the security is a backbone of how we operate at Microsoft and how we take it so seriously. And that's I think one of our biggest differentiators in the market too.
That's wonderful. We did have a comment. I just want to call this out. David Swenson, that's a question that's pretty lengthy. We're going to get that and take care of that outside of this particular session, if you don't mind. But I just want to say thank you for posting that. That was a very good and thought out question there. But okay, so let me back up. Well, not back up, but looking at the AI opportunity. Right. Gosh, you know, I think and I was just at the Synex conference actually in Orlando this last week, and it was very interesting. It's all about AI, and a lot of questions behind that. A lot of questions behind where do I start? Like, how would I? You know, we're just confused where to start. You know, how would you? You know, how would I get on this journey? Where would you suggest a new partner kind of start to break into AI? Besides maybe education can be one of them, right? But what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, it does feel kind of like overwhelming because even the way at the pace we're launching new product features and new, you know, it's we're overwhelmed, you know, inside Microsoft, right? We're always trying to catch up, right? So I get it, and I can imagine, like, you know, where you guys must feel as well, right? I think we do have to break it down and be simple, like keep it simple, sweet, the KISS thing, you know, like keep it simple, sweet. How do we keep this simple, and how do we break this down in baby steps? Number one, I think, is are you using like we talked about customer zero? Number one, make sure that you guys have those licenses deployed within your team, right? Does your sales team have, you know, the licenses deployed? Do they have M365 Copilot? Do they have or Copilot for Business? You know, make sure that they're adopting the technology, they're testing it out. So number one, and build your own use cases yourselves. So build your use cases and your own customer success stories, but also be the customer successor yourself. Number one, right? That's what I would say. Basics, right? But then second, like think about when you go to a customer, you do this yourself. When you go to a customer, what I always like to say is look at one department, maybe one workflow and one stakeholder there that you can really transform. It's like, maybe that customer is a little bit reticent a little bit to start off, but like, okay, let me help you unlock maybe the employee experience and talk to the HR person who's focused on onboarding. I talked to another MSP in one of these events. They're like, no, we're working with a local hospital that had a lot of churn, but they're also onboarding a lot of people. So we built agents for them around onboarding employees through Copilot. So that it was something that helped them actually automate much better the process. Where's our knowledge bank, how to access, benefits, and they built something tooled for them. So they built a services piece to it, built the agent, but also sold the licenses around Copilot as well for the employees. Right. So so I think being specific maybe in unlocking a workflow with a department and as a first grounding step, show quick hits around that and good KPIs, in the short term, 3 months, be with your customer in that, and then you can unlock it for the rest of the company. I think that's always sometimes a good grounding step to start with. If you want to start with AI with the customer.
I kind of think sometimes, I love Dynamics business applications because, from a business person standpoint, oh my gosh, this is a great product because everything needs customization. And man, are you going to be sitting there for, 1 to 2 years, customizing, getting it perfect. It's very profitable, in there, but it's been very difficult to break into, from a lot of partners because there's a big investment to get into business applications. But I think AI, and agents and Copilot is very similar to that. Because I think it's not an engagement where you're going to go in there and build something very small for one company and then set it and forget it. I think it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, now it's interdepartmental. So now I might be able to provide this particular one, but skin it differently for different departments. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. I think that's really going to be the change. Within our industry, it's not going to be break fix or managed services where I'm always going to be there 24 hours a day. It's going to be a little bit different. It could be like managed AI services almost, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
How do we keep that knowledge base up to date? How do we make sure that it's learning correctly? How do we ring fencing the right data? That's one of the biggest ones. Is you don't unleash Copilot on stuff that's been saved from 1989. Stop.
Yeah.
Right. No, we need a good knowledge base. So. That's kind of how I've kind of thought about that. So we're coming up. This has been a whirlwind. This has been great, but we've got about 8 minutes left. Do you have a scenario that you might want to share?
Yeah.
A success scenario, a story, something that might be cool to share with the group?
Yeah, going back to the law firm, I think there's just such a unique space. This is actually a public case study, and I had the opportunity to meet them and go and do an innovation hub session with this team. It's called Mike Morse Law Firm. They're one of the largest personal injury law firms in the state of Michigan, run by Mike Morse. And they've been on a journey with us for quite a while. I met the team about I think a year and a half ago. And so they had, as many law firms, they had a lot of issues around security risks with a lot of their, they had that cybersecurity threats that they were seeing. And they had to be, ethically bound to protect that data, the sensitive client data. They had operational issues, efficiency and growth. And they had they just had a lot of the firm had so much cases that they would process a lot of cases a week, and they didn't know how would they do that prioritization of cases that were coming in. You look at leads, in sales. And so how do you actually process all those cases? How do you prioritize them? How do you actually look at the legal analysis behind them, aligned with local state regulations? So there was a lot, and then there's the data aspect, all the client medical bills, or et cetera, and how do you structure that data? So then we worked with them on, it was a cloud first secure productivity platform that we built around Microsoft. So we included helping them basically unify their productivity and collaboration through M365 across the different departments of the law firm. Then we also brought in Copilot because they were okay, we want to help. Obviously, the different, entry level, like, or law clerks and even analysts and all different levels. We help them how they can draft more quickly legal documents, and create a knowledge base and create the content they need to access, and create like a knowledge base for them. And then we also did Surface devices because we needed to really protect their devices and create the security policies in place for that. And then also we looked at change management, what is required, of this company to really think of this firm differently. So it was a lot about bringing, like the session I had was with all the stakeholders at the table across the board and really, designing what are those different workflows that we needed to impact and what had the best return for them. And then seeing what is the different solution that can help reduce those pain points that they had in their operation. So it was great. We saw faster IT operations, devices were deployed about 15 minutes instead of like 2 to 3 hours, stronger security posture, better productivity for legal analysis. What would take them hours to do, they do it in like 30 minutes to an hour. So there was a wonderful, I think, outcomes out of it. And I think something that, we're replicating a lot in the legal space.
That's great. Now, I will tell you personally, I've always avoided the legal industry. Just
I get you. I get you there too.
But there's some partners that love it. I was talking to STS the other day, and he's like, "That's all we do. We love the law industry." I'm like, "Wow, you're a better person than me, man. I don't know." Anyways, Monica, thank you so very, very much. We really do appreciate you coming on board. This is really, really a fantastic session today. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure. Please, love to see you guys. I'll be in MSP Summit in Vegas, hopefully in April. Hopefully you'll be there. And then and yeah, thanks so much, Sherman. It's been a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Awesome. Now we're not going to give Monica's contact information because she works at Microsoft. She gets a lot, but you probably could send her an invitation.
Of course, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to. And I also put in. Sherman, sorry, not to interrupt, the form for the Co-Sell Together partner form in the link. So guys, it's there. So you can go in and ask for support on co-selling too, if you need to get a PSS to support you on some important opportunities you have. Sorry.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Hey, so next month we've got Rob Lawrence, partner account technical strategist at Microsoft. He's going to give us perspective from the enterprise group, kind of like what do they do? How do they work with partners? It's going to be really kind of cool. It's the last Friday of the month. So I think a lot of you are pre-registered already, but if you're not there, please, ask your friends. And then, well, I just thank you. Yeah, my brother's going to make me put this up here. As we mentioned earlier, we shape partners. So if you're interested in a complimentary 30-minute partner center evaluation, say yes or no. No big deal here. If you're interested, great. If not, you can reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk to you. Typically, just poke around 4 or 5 different areas, and we find it very quickly. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Do we need to fix it or not? Right. With that being said, anyways, I really do appreciate everybody coming to this. We prepare a lot, but your time is really valuable, and the time of our guest speaker is really valuable. So, lastly, again, Monica, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and land the plane. We're going to give you 3 minutes back on this. This was a whirlwind, but thanks again, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you again last Friday of the month, March 27th. All right, everybody, thanks again. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.